Have you ever noticed that it's not pain that changes life after 50, but hesitation? The moment when standing up takes an extra breath, when stairs feel heavier than they used to, when your legs feel present but not fully alive. This is not a failure of will, and it is not simply aging. It is biology asking for a different kind of conversation. This content is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please consult your healthcare professional before starting any new exercise routine. Have you ever noticed that moment in the evening when your legs feel heavier than they did in the morning, when your feet feel colder, or when you hesitate before standing up because something feels slightly off, even if you cannot name it? Many people over 50 experience this quietly and brush it aside, telling themselves it is normal, that it is just part of getting older, that it can wait until later. But what often goes unnoticed is that these small signals are not random discomforts. They are early messages from your circulation system asking for attention now, not someday. And the reason this matters is simple. When circulation changes, everything else begins to change with it. Balance, endurance, confidence, even how safe your body feels when you move through the day. Circulation is commonly described as something the heart handles on its own, but that belief leaves out the most important part of the system, especially after 50. Blood does not return from your legs to your heart automatically. It depends on help. Every step you take, every time your calf tightens or your thigh engages, your muscles gently squeeze the veins and guide blood upward against gravity. When this happens regularly, circulation stays responsive. When it does not, blood begins to linger. It pools quietly in the lower legs, especially during long periods of sitting or at night, creating that familiar heaviness, swelling, or restless sensation that so many people feel but rarely connect to muscle activity. This is where the story usually gets misunderstood. Many people are doing what they believe is right. They walk. They stay mobile. They avoid strain. And those habits are valuable. Walking supports the heart, the lungs, and the mind. It is not wrong. The issue is that after midlife, muscles often need a clearer signal than gentle repetition alone can provide. As stride length shortens and pace slows naturally with age, the leg muscles may no longer contract deeply enough to fully activate the circulation pump they are designed to drive. This does not mean walking has failed you. It means your body is asking for one missing ingredient. What often surprises people is that circulation issues in later life are frequently less about the veins themselves and more about how the nervous system is communicating with muscle tissue. The brain controls when muscles engage and how strongly they respond. As movement becomes more cautious, those signals soften. The muscles respond by doing less, and circulation follows that pattern. This is why targeted muscle activation can feel almost immediate in its effects. When the calves and thighs are asked to contract with intention, warmth returns, swelling eases, and the legs feel lighter, sometimes within minutes. The system recognizes the signal because it is one the body has relied on for a lifetime. If you have ever felt unsure on your feet, especially when standing after sitting, that hesitation is not just physical. It is neurological. Reduced circulation dulls sensory feedback from the feet and lower legs, making the ground feel less predictable. The brain responds by limiting movement to stay safe. When circulation improves, people often notice something subtle but powerful. They stand taller. They trust their steps more. They feel steadier, not because they are forcing strength, but because their body feels awake and responsive again. Confidence returns quietly, without effort. Understanding circulation as a muscle-driven system changes the entire approach to aging well. It shifts the focus away from passive solutions and toward active partnership with the body. Elevating the legs or wearing compression can reduce symptoms temporarily, but they do not retrain the system. Gentle, repeated muscle engagement does. Not aggressive movement, not exhaustion, just consistent signals that remind the body how blood is meant to move. When muscles resume their role as guides rather than spectators, circulation regains rhythm, balance improves, and the legs begin to feel like reliable supports again during everyday life. There is a moment many people recognize but rarely talk about. You are standing up from a chair in a cafe, a waiting room, or your own living room, and for just half a second you hesitate. Not because of pain, but because your body does not respond as quickly as you expect. Your legs feel slow. Your balance feels uncertain. You pause, gather yourself, and then stand. Nothing dramatic happens, but something important has shifted. A quiet question appears in the background of your mind. Can I trust my body to do what it used to do without thinking? This is how weakness usually begins after 50, not with injury, not with damage, with hesitation, with small moments where movement feels less automatic and more deliberate. Most people assume this means something is wearing out, muscles getting old, joints breaking down. But in the vast majority of cases, what is actually happening is far simpler and far more reversible. The body has slowly been asked to do less, and it has responded exactly as biology predicts. Underuse does not announce itself. It arrives through sensible decisions that feel protective at the time. Taking the elevator instead of the stairs because the knees feel tired. Sitting down instead of squatting because it feels safer. Holding onto furniture just in case. Each choice makes sense on its own. But over time, these choices change the signals sent to muscles and nerves. When muscles are not asked to contract fully, they lose responsiveness. When balance reactions are not practiced, they slow. When movements are avoided, the brain stops prioritizing them. What follows feels like weakness, but it is not damage. It is a system quietly powering down from lack of use. The hidden cost of this process is rarely physical at first. It is psychological. People begin to scan environments for places to sit. They choose shoes based on fear of slipping rather than comfort. They avoid unfamiliar streets, uneven ground, long lines, or crowded spaces. Travel feels more stressful. Social outings feel more tiring. Confidence in public spaces slowly erodes, not because the body is incapable, but because trust in the body has weakened. This loss of trust often arrives long before any true physical limitation does. There is also a neurological layer that makes underuse especially deceptive. Strength is not just about muscle size. It is about how efficiently the brain can recruit muscle fibers at the right moment. When movements are repeated less often, the brain reduces its investment in those pathways. The signal becomes quieter. The response becomes slower. This is why someone can walk every day and still struggle to rise from a low chair or feel unstable stepping off a curb. The body has not lost strength globally. It has lost access to specific patterns that are no longer being rehearsed. What makes this important is that underuse creates a self-reinforcing loop. Hesitation leads to caution. Caution leads to less movement. Less movement leads to weaker signaling. And weaker signaling increases hesitation. Many people interpret this loop as aging, when in reality it is a training effect in reverse. The body is adapting to how it is being used, not to the number of years lived. The encouraging truth is that this process responds quickly when the signal changes. Muscles do not need to be pushed aggressively to reawaken. The nervous system does not need intensity to relearn coordination. It needs clarity, repetition, and safety. When specific movements are reintroduced thoughtfully, strength often returns faster than expected, balance improves, reactions sharpen, and most importantly, trust begins to rebuild. People notice they stand up without thinking again. They walk into rooms without scanning for support. They move with less internal negotiation. Understanding weakness as underuse rather than damage shifts something profound. It replaces fear with curiosity. It turns decline into information. And it opens the door to a simple but powerful question, not what has gone wrong, but what has quietly been missing, and how restoring the right movements, in the right way, can begin to reverse this process safely and steadily. There is a common belief that if movement is good, then faster movement must be better. Many people over 50 feel this pressure when they exercise. Walk faster, push harder, get the heart rate up, finish quickly. And when the body can no longer keep up with that pace, it feels like failure. But circulation does not respond to speed the way people think it does, especially in an aging body. In fact, moving too fast can bypass the very systems that keep blood flowing efficiently to the legs and back to the heart. Circulation in the lower body is not powered by momentum. It is powered by muscle contraction. Each time a muscle tightens and releases, it gently compresses the veins around it, pushing blood upward against gravity. This is particularly true in the calves, thighs, and hips. When movement is rushed, muscles do not stay engaged long enough to complete this pumping action. The motion happens, but the signal is weak. Blood moves, but not fully. Over time, this is why people can be active, even busy, and still experience cold feet, swelling at night, or a heavy, tired feeling in the legs. Slow movement changes this entirely. When a movement is slowed down, muscles remain under tension longer. The squeeze is more deliberate. The release is more complete. This creates a stronger and more effective pumping action inside the veins. It also gives the nervous system time to coordinate the sequence properly. ensuring that muscles activate in the right order instead of relying on momentum to carry the body through. Circulation improves, not because the body is working harder, but because it is working more precisely. There is also a sensory component that speed often shuts down. Slow movement increases awareness. You feel the feet pressing into the ground. You notice the calves engaging. You sense balance shifts and posture adjustments. These sensations feed information back to the brain, which then refines how blood vessels dilate, how muscles coordinate, and how efficiently oxygen is delivered to tissues. Fast movement tends to override this feedback loop. The body goes on autopilot. The brain receives less information. Circulation becomes less adaptive and more mechanical. Many people notice the difference at night. After a day of rushed walking or quick movements, legs may still feel restless or swollen when lying down. But after slow, controlled movements, especially those involving pauses and holds, the legs often feel warmer, lighter, and calmer. This is not imagination. It is the result of improved venous return and better nervous system regulation. Slow movement helps the body finish the work that fast movement leaves incomplete. There is also a protective element that matters after 50. Speed increases impact and reduces control. When joints are stiff or balance is less reliable, fast movement encourages compensation. The body shifts load away from weaker muscles and into joints or the lower back. Circulation suffers because the muscles that should be doing the pumping are not fully engaged. Slow movement keeps the load where it belongs. It allows muscles to do their job without being overridden by momentum or fear of falling. Perhaps the most overlooked benefit of slow movement is confidence. When people move slowly and feel their body responding smoothly, trust begins to return. That trust reduces unconscious tension, which further improves circulation. Blood vessels respond to relaxation as much as to movement. When fear decreases, vessels dilate more easily. Flow improves. The body enters a state where healing and regulation are possible again. This is why slow, deliberate movement often outperforms faster exercise for circulation in older adults. It respects the biology of the muscle pump. It honors the role of the nervous system. It reduces strain while increasing effectiveness. And it reminds the body how to move blood efficiently, not by rushing, but by staying present in each moment of movement. Many people think of balance and circulation as two separate issues. Balance feels like something the brain handles. Circulation feels like something the heart manages. But inside the body, these systems are deeply linked, especially after 50. When one weakens, the other quietly follows. And often, the first sign of a circulation problem is not pain or swelling, but subtle changes in balance that are easy to dismiss until they begin to interfere with daily life. Balance depends on constant communication between the feet, the muscles of the legs, the inner ear, and the brain. Every time you stand, shift weight, or take a step, thousands of small signals travel upward, informing the brain where the body is in space. For those signals to be clear, the muscles must be active and well supplied with blood. Circulation delivers oxygen and nutrients that allow these muscles and nerves to respond quickly and accurately. When blood flow slows, muscles fatigue sooner, nerves transmit signals less clearly, and balance becomes less reliable. This is why many people notice that balance feels worse when their legs feel cold, heavy, or swollen. It is not simply stiffness. It is reduced circulation limiting how well the muscles and sensory receptors can do their job. The ankles may feel unstable. The knees may hesitate. The hips may not correct quickly enough during a small stumble. These moments are often described as clumsiness or aging, but they are frequently circulation issues in disguise. The relationship also works in the other direction. Poor balance reduces circulation. When balance feels uncertain, people unconsciously restrict movement. They take smaller steps. They avoid shifting weight fully onto one leg. They keep muscles slightly tense as a protective strategy. This reduces the natural pumping action of the leg muscles. Blood does not move upward as effectively. Swelling increases. Fatigue sets in faster. The cycle reinforces itself quietly and persistently. Standing on one leg is a simple example of how balance and circulation work together. When you do this, the muscles of the standing leg must stay active to keep you upright. That sustained activation improves blood flow through the calf, thigh, and hip. At the same time, the brain sharpens its awareness of position and stability. Circulation improves because the muscles are engaged, and balance improves because the muscles are nourished and responsive. The two systems rise together. Many falls occur not during fast movement, but during slow transitions. Standing up from a chair, turning to reach for something, stepping onto an uneven surface. These moments require both balance and circulation to be functioning well. Muscles must activate quickly, and they must have the endurance to hold the body steady. If circulation is poor, muscles respond more slowly. If balance is weak, movement becomes hesitant. Together, these small delays can lead to loss of control. People often report that when circulation improves, balance feels easier without conscious effort. Walking feels smoother. Standing feels more grounded. This is not coincidence. Improved blood flow supports the nerve endings in the feet and legs that detect pressure and movement. These sensory signals help the brain make faster and more accurate adjustments. Balance becomes more automatic, reducing the mental strain that often accompanies fear of falling. There is also a psychological layer. Confidence in balance changes how people move. When someone feels steady, they move more fully. They shift weight naturally. They allow muscles to contract and relax as designed. This enhances circulation further. When someone feels unsteady, movement becomes guarded. Muscles tighten unnecessarily. Blood flow becomes restricted. The body stays in a defensive state that undermines both balance and circulation. This is why training balance gently and regularly can have such a powerful effect on circulation, and why circulation-focused movements often improve balance at the same time. The body does not separate these systems. It integrates them continuously. When muscles are active, blood flows. When blood flows, nerves respond. When nerves respond, balance improves. And when balance improves, movement becomes freer, allowing circulation to stay strong and supportive throughout daily life. Many people believe aging follows a fixed path, that once strength, balance, or circulation begin to decline, the body is simply carrying out an irreversible script. This belief is one of the most damaging misconceptions about growing older. The body is not programmed to decline on a schedule. It responds to patterns, and patterns, when changed consistently, reshape how the body functions at any age. Consistency matters more than intensity because the nervous system learns through repetition, not force. When a movement is practiced gently and regularly, the brain begins to recognize it as safe and necessary. Muscles are recruited more efficiently. Blood flow adapts. Joints move with less resistance. Over time, the body reorganizes itself around these repeated signals. This is not about pushing limits. It is about sending the right message often enough for the body to listen. Aging patterns form slowly, often without awareness. Sitting more, stepping less fully, avoiding positions that feel uncomfortable. Each small adaptation seems harmless, but together they teach the body to expect less demand. Muscles reduce their activity. Circulation becomes less responsive. Balance strategies narrow. The body becomes efficient at doing less, not because it is broken, but because that is the pattern it has been practicing. Consistency interrupts this process. When the same small movements are repeated daily, the body begins to reverse these expectations. Muscles regain their role as pumps and stabilizers. Blood vessels become more responsive to demand. Nerves sharpen their communication. These changes are subtle at first, often noticed as small improvements. Legs feel warmer. Standing feels steadier. Fatigue arrives later in the day. These are signs that the body is rewriting its internal instructions. One of the most powerful aspects of consistency is that it reduces fear. Sporadic effort often feels risky. The body does not know what to expect, but daily repetition builds familiarity. Familiarity builds confidence. When the brain trusts that movement will not cause harm, it allows muscles to engage more fully and fluidly. Circulation improves not only because of physical activation, but because the stress response quiets down. Blood flows more easily in a relaxed system. There is also an emotional shift that occurs with consistent practice. People begin to identify as someone who moves. Not someone who exercises occasionally, but someone whose body is engaged every day. This identity matters. It changes decisions throughout the day. Standing up more often, walking with purpose, choosing to shift weight instead of staying still. These small choices reinforce the pattern of movement that supports strength and circulation. Consistency also respects recovery. Aging bodies often respond poorly to sudden bursts of activity, followed by long periods of rest. This pattern creates inflammation and fatigue without allowing adaptation to occur. Regular, moderate movement allows tissues to recover while staying active. Muscles remain responsive. Joints stay nourished. Circulation stays engaged. The body stays in a state of readiness rather than strain. Perhaps most importantly, consistency restores a sense of agency. Instead of reacting to symptoms, people begin to influence how their body feels. This sense of control is deeply regulating to the nervous system. When the brain feels in control, it reduces protective tension. Movement becomes smoother. Blood flow improves. Balance feels more reliable. The aging process no longer feels like something happening to the body, but something being shaped through daily choices. The body does not need to be convinced all at once. It needs steady reassurance. Each day of gentle, intentional movement reinforces the same message. You are still needed. You are still capable. You are still adapting. Over time, these repeated signals accumulate, quietly rewriting the aging pattern into one that supports strength, circulation, and confidence in movement.